Steam rose from the pot as David Lane stirred the sauce with practiced precision. His knife moved through fresh vegetables in rhythmic cuts, each slice exactly 3 millimeters thick. The kitchen of the Wanderer's Rest smelled like home to dozens of species who passed through Station Gamma 7, and David made sure every meal earned that feeling. A four-armed collat named Bryn pushed through the swinging door, carrying empty plates. Table 7 wants to know if you can make that Terran dish again. The one with the cream and mushrooms. David nodded without looking up. His hands already reached for ingredients, muscle memory guiding him through steps he had performed thousands of times. Tell them 15 minutes, and ask if they want the mild or spicy version. Bryn paused at the door. 8 years I have worked with you, and I still cannot figure out how you move like that. Like everything is a dance you memorized long ago. Lots of practice, David said. The lie came easily now, worn smooth by repetition. He did not mention the other kind of practice, the kind that happened in places without kitchens or kindness. The lunch rush kept him busy for 3 hours. A Rasali family with young children ordered simple grain bowls. A group of Vorlon merchants wanted their traditional spiced meat prepared just right. David moved between stations, adjusting temperatures, tasting broths, plating dishes with the same careful attention he gave everything in his restaurant. Near closing time, 5 Kalahari mercenaries stomped in wearing armor that had seen recent combat. Scorch marks darkened the chest plates. They threw themselves into chairs at the bar and demanded food immediately. Kitchen closes in 20 minutes, Bryn said calmly. But we can serve you at the bar while you wait for a table. The largest mercenary, a scarred brute with filed teeth, sneered. We do not wait. We fought today. We eat now. David appeared in the doorway, wiping his hands on his apron. The gentleman explained our policy. You are welcome to wait, or you can try the noodle bar 2 levels down. I do not take orders from a human cook, the mercenary growled. His hand moved toward the weapon at his belt. Something flickered in David's eyes, gone so fast that Bryn almost missed it. But David's voice remained calm, almost gentle. Then take it from a business owner who wants to serve you good food. 20 minutes for a table. Or I can make you something simple right now at the bar. Your choice. The mercenaries grumbled, but accepted bar service. David returned to his kitchen and prepared 5 meals that would fill their stomachs and calm their aggression. He added extra portions and a complimentary dessert. By the time they left, the mercenaries were laughing and promised to return. Bryn shook his head as he cleaned tables. You have a gift for handling difficult customers. Everyone deserves a good meal, David said. Food is the one language every species understands. You feed someone well, treat them with respect, they remember that. Sometimes longer than they remember reasons to be angry. After the mercenaries left, a soft knock came at the door. David opened it to find a Rasali mother with 2 small children. She spoke in broken standard. Please, we have no credits left. Journey was longer than planned. Children are hungry. David did not hesitate. Gomin, sit wherever you like. Bryn started to protest about the closed sign, but David was already back in the kitchen. He prepared simple but nourishing meals, the kind his own mother used to make when he was young. The children ate eagerly while their mother cried quiet tears of gratitude. No charge, David said when they finished. Travel safe. After they left, Bryn crossed his forearms. You are too generous. We barely break, even most months. We break even enough, David replied. What good is profit if people go hungry? That night, David cleaned his kitchen alone. Bryn had gone home to his family in the residential quarter. The station was quiet during 3rd shift, just the hum of environmental systems and occasional footsteps in the corridor outside. David moved through his closing routine with the same precision he applied to everything. Every surface sanitized. Every tool returned to its exact place. Every ingredient properly stored. Order and ritual kept the chaos away, kept the memories from surfacing that he was wiping down the last counter when the station alarms blared. Emergency lights flashed red. The public address system crackled with static, then a panicked voice. Security breach at Docking Bay 12. All civilians proceed to designated safe zones. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not. The transmission cut off. Explosions rumbled through the station's superstructure, close enough that dishes rattled in their racks. David stood frozen, a cleaning cloth in his hand. His breathing changed, became deeper, more controlled. Old instincts whispered warnings that he tried to ignore. This was not his problem. He was a chef. He made food. He helped people by feeding them, not by more explosions. Closer. The lights flickered. Through his kitchen window, David saw people running past in the corridor. Saw the orange glow of fire reflecting off metal walls. His hands tightened on the cloth. Somewhere in the station, Bryn's family was sheltering. Somewhere, families like the Rasali refugees he had fed tonight were hiding and hoping to survive whatever was happening. David closed his eyes. When he opened them, his gaze fell on a knife block beside the stove. Professional chef's knives, each one balanced and sharp enough to slice paper. His hand reached out, hesitated, pulled back. "Not my fight," he whispered. "Not anymore." The door to his restaurant exploded inward. Raiders in black armor poured through the smoke, weapons raised. Behind David, something deep and buried stirred. His grip on the cloth changed, shifting into a hold he had not used in 8 years. The lead raider pointed a rifle at him. "On your knees, human. You're coming with us." David looked at the weapon, at the raiders, at his kitchen, at the life he had built dish by dish, meal by meal, trying to become someone who created instead of destroyed. The raiders stepped closer. "I said on your," David moved. The cleaning cloth snapped forward, striking the raider's weapon hand with enough force to deflect the barrel. In the same motion, David's other hand grabbed a knife from the block. Not to throw. Not yet. Just to hold. The raiders stared. David stood in his kitchen, surrounded by the smell of herbs and spices, a chef's knife in his hand, and something very old and very dangerous waking up behind his eyes. "You should leave," David said quietly. "Please, just leave." The raiders laughed. Then they made the mistake of stepping forward. And Sergeant David Lane, formerly of the Human Coalition Silent Corps, remembered exactly what his hands knew how to do. The fight lasted 30 seconds. David moved through the raiders like water flowing around stones, every motion efficient and terrifyingly precise. His chef's knife deflected weapons, found pressure points, disabled threats without killing. Training from another lifetime guided his body while his mind screamed in protest. When silence returned, 5 raiders lay unconscious on his restaurant floor. David stood among them, breathing hard, the knife still in his hand. His apron was torn, but he had no injuries. The raiders never managed to fire a single shot. Bryn burst through the damaged door, eyes wide with shock. "David? What? How did you help me tie them up?" David said. His voice sounded wrong even to himself. Flat. Professional. The voice of someone who had done this before. "Use the kitchen cord. Make it tight." They secured the raiders in silence. Outside, more explosions shook the station. Screams echoed through the corridors. The overhead speakers crackled again. All security personnel to the residential quarter. Raiders are static, consumed the rest. Bryn grabbed David's arm with 2 of his hands. "My family is in the residential quarter. Sella, my daughter, she's only 9 years old. I have to get to them." David looked at his friend's face, saw the terror there. Saw the same fear he had seen on countless faces during the war. The kind of fear that came when people realized death was close and coming closer. "We need to get civilians to safety first," David said. Already his mind was working tactically, assessing threats, planning routes. He hated how easily it came back, as if summoned by his words. Panicked beings began hammering on the restaurant door. David opened it to a flood of refugees. Vorla merchants, Tarakan elders, a human family with 3 children. They stumbled inside, some bleeding, all terrified. "Raiders are everywhere," a Vorlan gasped. "Corvan slavers. They're taking prisoners. We saw them dragging people toward the docking bays." David counted quickly. 15 refugees now crowded his restaurant. The storage room in the back had reinforced walls, built to contain hazardous materials. It would have to serve as a shelter. "Everyone into the storage room," he ordered. The authority in his voice made them obey without question. "Stay quiet. Stay together." Do not open the door for anyone except Bryn or myself. A little human girl, maybe 6 years old, clutched a stuffed animal. Her parents had cuts on their faces. Are the bad people going to take us? David knelt down to her eye level. No, I promise. You are safe here. How can you promise that? Her father asked. You are a cook. What can you do against armed raiders? Bryn answered before David could. You would be surprised what he can do. David settled the refugees in the storage room, then returned to the main dining area. Through the shattered front window, he could see fires burning in the commercial sector. Bodies lay in the corridor. Not all of them were moving. I have to reach my family, Bryn said. But I cannot leave these people alone and unprotected. You go, David said. I'll stay with the refugees. David, there are at least 30 raiders on this station. Security is overwhelmed. You cannot fight them all. I do not plan to fight anyone. David moved to the kitchen, began gathering supplies. Medical kit, water, protein bars. I plan to keep everyone alive until coalition forces arrive. And if the raiders find us first, David's hands stilled on a package of bandages. Then I will do what I have to do. Bryn studied his friend's face. You were military. That is where you learned to move like that, to fight like that. A long time ago, David said. Different life, different person, but still the same hands. Before David could respond, heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor. Multiple beings, moving with tactical coordination. Through the broken window, David saw them. Corvin raiders in assault armor, weapons drawn, moving room to room. He grabbed Bryn and pulled him behind the bar. Stay down. Stay silent. 6 raiders entered the restaurant. Their leader, a scarred Corvin with a captain's insignia, surveyed the unconscious raiders on the floor. Well, someone has been busy. David stood slowly, hands visible, trying to project calm. This is neutral ground. A restaurant. The beings here are not part of your fight. The captain laughed. Everything on this station is part of our fight now. We take what we want, including you. He gestured to his soldiers. Check the back rooms. Find whoever did this to my men. 2 soldiers moved toward the storage room. David stepped into their path. Please, there are only civilians back there. Refugees. They cannot pay ransom. Then they're worthless to us, the captain said. Step aside or die. One soldier reached for the storage room door. David's hand shot out, faster than thought, and grabbed the soldier's wrist. His other hand struck a nerve cluster at the base of the soldier's neck. The raider dropped instantly. The other soldiers raised their weapons. The captain held up a hand. Wait, I want to see this. He studied David with new interest. You move like a soldier. A trained one. What are you doing in a kitchen, human? Making a living, David said. Trying to help people. By killing my men. They are unconscious, not dead. I do not kill if I can avoid it. How noble. The captain drew his sidearm. But I have no such restrictions. Last chance. Move aside, or I will shoot you and check that room anyway. David did not move. Could not move. Behind that door were 15 beings who trusted him to protect them. A little girl with a stuffed animal who believed his promise. If he stepped aside now, they would all be taken. Sold. Lost. His mind raced through scenarios. 5 armed raiders. Himself unarmed except for kitchen implements. Confined space. Minimal cover. The tactical part of his brain that he thought he had buried supplied solutions. Brutal, efficient solutions. The captain's finger tightened on the trigger. Goodbye, chef. A blur of motion from the bar. Bryn launched himself at the nearest raider, all 4 arms grappling for the weapon. David moved. No thought. No hesitation. Pure reaction born from 10,000 hours of combat training. His hand found a knife on the counter. A throw. A raider's weapon clattered to the floor. Another knife. Another throw. 2 raiders down before the others could react. The captain swung his pistol toward David. Too slow. David was already inside his guard, one hand deflecting the weapon, the other striking the nerve cluster behind the captain's jaw. The Corvin collapsed. Silence fell. 6 raiders unconscious. Bryn stood panting, staring at David with something like awe mixed with fear. You're not just military, Bryn said quietly. You're special forces. Elite. David said nothing. His hands were shaking. not from fear or exertion, for the terrible familiarity of it all, from how easily the violence had come, from the small, dark part of himself that had enjoyed the clarity of combat, the simplicity of threat and response. He finally admitted, silent ko. Long time ago, silent ko. Bren's voice dropped to a whisper. The ones they told stories about during the Frontier Wars? The humans who could kill in complete darkness? Who dismantled entire battalions without firing a shot? Stories get exaggerated. David, I saw what you just did. If that was exaggerated, I do not want to know what the truth is. From a storage room, frightened voices called out. The little girl's voice rose above the others. Mr. David, are we safe now? David looked at the unconscious raiders, at his friend's shocked face, at his own hands that knew how to prepare delicate soufflés and brutal takedowns with equal skill. For now, he called back. Stay inside. Lock the door. Bren's communicator chirped. He answered, listened, and his face went pale. That was my wife. Raiders have broken into the residential quarter. They're rounding up families, taking the children. David closed his eyes, saw Sella's face in his mind, saw the little girl with the stuffed animal, saw all the beings he had fed and helped and tried to protect with nothing more dangerous than good food and kindness. Sometimes kindness was not enough. Go, he told Bren. Get to your family. I will keep the refugees safe. What about you? David looked at the knife in his hand, at the raiders on the floor, at the person he had been and the person he had tried to become. I'm going to do something I swore I would never do again. What is that? Remember who I used to be. David sent Bren toward the residential quarter with directions to take maintenance tunnels that the raiders likely had not mapped yet. Then he returned to the storage room and opened the door just wide enough to speak through. I need to go help some people, he told the refugees. Stay here. Stay quiet. Do not open this door for anyone except Bren or myself. Understand? The little girl with the stuffed animal pushed forward. You promised we would be safe. You are safe. In here. I promise. David tried to smile, but could not quite manage it. What is your name? Lily. Lily, I need you to be brave. Can you do that? She nodded, clutching her toy tighter. David closed the door and heard the lock engage from inside. At least they would be secure for a while. The storage room had emergency supplies and could seal against decompression. As shelters went, it was better than most. He moved through his kitchen one more time, gathering what he needed. Not kitchen knives this time. Those had served their purpose, proved a point. Now he needed to go further, and that meant using tools designed for what he was about to do. Behind a false panel in the dry storage area, David found the case he had not opened in 8 years. Military-grade polymer, sealed against sensors and casual inspection. His discharge bonus had bought this restaurant in this case. Insurance, he had told himself. Just in case. Inside lay the gear he had promised himself never to wear again. Black tactical suit, reinforced at joints and vital areas. Gloves with grip surfaces. And knives. Not chef's knives. Combat blades, balanced for throwing or close work. Each one a tool designed for a single purpose. David dressed slowly, each piece of gear bringing back memories he had tried to bury. His body remembered how everything fit, where each blade belonged, how to move in the suit. Muscle memory was both blessing and curse. When he was ready, he looked at his reflection in a polished steel counter. A stranger looked back. Not a chef. Not anymore. Something older and harder. Something he had hoped was dead. Just this once, he whispered to his reflection. Then never again. The station's maintenance tunnels were narrow and dark, lit only by emergency strips every 20 meters. David moved through them like a ghost, his footsteps silent, his breathing controlled. Silent Corps training had included extensive work in confined spaces, in darkness, in environments where any sound meant death. He navigated by memory and station schematics he had studied years ago, back when he first arrived, and paranoia made him memorize every escape route. The tunnels connected all major sections of the station, allowing maintenance crews to move without disrupting civilian areas. Through ventilation grates, David heard raiders barking orders in Corvin, heard civilians crying, heard the sounds of violence that made his jaw clench and his hands tighten on his blades. the residential quarter was chaos. Families huddled together while raiders sorted them into groups. Children separated from parents. The elderly pushed aside. David watched through a grate, counting raiders, noting positions, looking for patterns. 20 raiders visible in this section alone. More likely elsewhere. Security forces were nowhere to be seen, probably overwhelmed or dead. Coalition military response would take hours. These people did not have hours. David spotted Bren in the crowd. 3 of his 4 arms wrapped protectively around his wife and daughter. A raider was trying to pull Sella away. Bren was arguing, pleading. The raider raised his weapon. David moved without thinking. The ventilation grate came off in his hands with barely a sound. He dropped into the corridor behind the raider, one blade already in motion. The flat of the blade struck the raider's weapon hand, numbing it. Another strike to the nerve cluster at the base of the skull. The raider fell. Bren's eyes widened. David, get your family to the maintenance tunnels. 3rd junction. Turn left. Follow the blue markers. There is an emergency shelter there. Seal the door behind you. But the others, I will handle it. Go. Now. Bren gathered his family and ran. Other civilians saw the open tunnel and followed. The commotion drew attention. Raiders turned, weapons rising. David was already moving. The corridor was narrow, forcing the raiders into single file. Their superior numbers meant nothing when they could only engage them one at a time. This was what Silent Corps specialized in, taking superior forces and negating every advantage through terrain, timing, and technique. The first raider fired. David was not there. He was beside the raider, inside the weapon's effective range, his blade finding the armor's weak points. Not to kill, never to kill if he could avoid it, but to disable, to remove threats, to protect. The second raider tried to get a clear shot, but hit his own comrade instead. David used the confusion, moved through them like smoke, each motion precise and economical. No wasted movement. No flerichis. Just brutal efficiency that would have made his old instructors proud and his current self sick. In 90 seconds, 8 raiders lay unconscious. The civilians who remained stared at David with a mixture of gratitude and fear. He understood. He looked like death in black tactical gear, blades in hand, moving with the cold precision of a machine built for violence. The maintenance tunnels, he told them. Follow the family that just left. Blue markers. Go. They ran. David moved deeper into the residential quarter, following sounds of conflict. He found more raiders, more civilians in danger. Each time, he intervened. Each time, the pattern repeated. Swift, silent, surgical strikes that left raiders disabled and civilians able to escape. But each fight brought the old feelings back stronger. The clarity, the focus, the terrible satisfaction of perfect execution. David had forgotten how intoxicating combat could be when you were good at it. How simple, how pure. He hated himself for noticing that in a community center, David found the main group. 30 civilians surrounded by 15 raiders. The raider captain from the restaurant was there, now conscious and very angry. He held Sella, Bren's daughter, with a weapon to her head. David's blood went cold. He had promised Bren, had promised Lily, had promised himself that he could protect people without becoming what he used to be. But here he was, face to face with the truth. Sometimes promises were not enough. Sometimes violence was the only answer. Come out, chef, the captain called. I know you're watching. I have been hearing reports. One human taking down my teams like they're training dummies. You are Silent Corps, are you not? I fought your kind during the war. Watched you butcher my battalion in the dark. David stepped into view. Every weapon in the room tracked to him. Let the girl go. This is between us. No, this is about teaching you a lesson. About showing these pathetic civilians what happens when they resist. The captain pressed the weapon harder against Sella's temple. You are good, human, but you are one being against 15. You cannot save them all. So choose. Surrender, or watch her die. David's mind raced through scenarios. Every option led to casualties. Too many raiders, too many civilians in the line of fire. Even with all his training, all his skill, the numbers were impossible. But Silent Corps had never fought fair. David looked at Sella, saw the fear in her eyes, and made his choice. Not the smart choice. Not the tactical choice. The human choice. Take me. Let her and everyone else go. You want a silent core operative? Fine. I will come quietly. Just release them first. The captain smiled. Finally, some sense. Drop your weapons. David set down his blades one by one, raised his hands, walked forward slowly. The captain lowered his weapon from Sella's head. See, even the legendary silent core knows when they are beaten. David kept walking. 10 meters. 5. 3. Close enough to see the captain's expression, close enough to smell his breath, close enough to... The lights went out. Every light in the community center died simultaneously. Emergency lighting failed. Even the glow strips went dark. Total blackness descended like a curtain. In the darkness, David smiled. Because Silent Core had not earned their reputation by fighting fair. They earned it by fighting in conditions where fairness did not exist, and absolute darkness was their home. David had spent 3 seconds memorizing the room layout before surrendering. 3 seconds to catalog every position, every angle, every obstacle. In total darkness, the raiders had technology. Night vision in their helmets, thermal imaging, targeting systems. David had something better. He had trained for 5 years to fight in absolute darkness. Had learned to navigate by sound, by air current, by the feeling of space around his body. The raiders relied on their technology. He relied on instinct honed through 10,000 hours of practice. The first raider never knew what hit him. David moved through the darkness like water, his footsteps soundless. A strike to the neck, pressure applied precisely to the carotid artery. The raider dropped without a sound. David caught the body, lowered it gently to avoid noise. The other raiders were shouting, their night vision showing them nothing because David had cut the power completely. Their thermal imaging was useless in a room where body heat blended together, where civilians huddled in groups that masked individual signatures. "Where is he?" the captain screamed. "Find the human." David was already behind 2 more raiders. His hand found nerve clusters, applied pressure, moved on. Bodies fell. Weapons clattered. The raiders fired blindly. Plasma bolts scorching walls and ceiling. Civilians screamed. "Stop shooting, you idiots," the captain ordered. "You will hit the hostages." That was exactly what David wanted them to remember. The civilians were shields and limitations. Every shot the raiders took risked killing their own prizes. They had to be careful. David did not. He moved through the chaos like a ghost, disabling raiders one by one. His hands found weapons and rendered them useless, found armor joints and exploited weaknesses, found bodies and incapacitated them with minimal force. Every movement was practiced, automatic, perfect, and utterly terrifying to anyone watching. The emergency lighting flickered back on after 90 seconds. David stood in the center of the room, breathing hard but uninjured. Around him, 14 raiders lay unconscious. Only the captain remained standing, and he had Sella again, the weapon back at her head. "Enough," the captain snarled. His hand shook slightly. Fear. David could see it in his eyes. Good. Fear made people sloppy. "I will kill her. I swear I will." David took 1 step forward. "No, you will not." "Stop. I am warning you." "Another step. You want me, remember? I'm a prize. Former Silent Core operative. Worth more than everyone else in this room combined. You kill her. You lose your leverage. You lose me." The captain's weapon wavered. David could see the calculation behind his eyes. The greed warring with fear. Stay back, or... David was already moving. Not toward the captain. Toward Sella. His hand shot out, grabbed her wrist, pulled her away from the captain's grip with precisely calibrated force. Not too hard to hurt her. Just hard enough to break the captain's hold. Sella stumbled free. David stepped between her and the captain. "Run. Everyone run. Now." The civilians fled. Brent appeared from somewhere and grabbed his daughter, carrying her towards safety. Within seconds, the room was empty except for David, the captain, and 15 unconscious raiders. The captain aimed his weapon at David's chest. "You think you have one? There are 50 more of my people on this station. You cannot fight them all." "Probably not," David admitted. "But I do not have to fight them all. Just you." I will shoot you. Then shoot. But you better make it count, because if you miss, if you only wound me, I will take that weapon and beat you unconscious with it. And then I will tie you up and hand you to station security. Your choice. The captain's hand steadied. Finger tightened on the trigger. David watched, utterly calm. He had been here before, staring at death across the barrel of a weapon. Had made peace with it long ago. If he died protecting these people, protecting Sella and Lily and all the others, then at least he died being something better than a killer, the weapon discharged. David moved on instinct, his body twisting, the plasma bolt passing so close he felt heat singe his suit. His hand grabbed the weapon, twisted it free, reversed it in a single, fluid motion. The captain stared at the weapon, now pointed at his face. Stared at David's eyes, and saw something there that made him go very still. "Please," the captain whispered. "Do not kill me." David stood there, weapon in hand, 15 years of combat, training screaming at him to pull the trigger. And the threat. Protect the innocents. Do what soldiers were trained to do. But he was not just a soldier anymore. Had not been for 8 years. Was a chef. A cook. Someone who fed people and made them smile. Someone who had promised himself never to kill again unless absolutely necessary. That he lowered the weapon. "I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to let station security deal with you properly. Through law. Through justice. Not through violence. You are a fool." "Probably." David pulled out zip ties and secured the captain's hands. "But I'm a fool who can still sleep at night." Station security arrived 10 minutes later, led by a grizzled Tyvan named Halak. They found David sitting against a wall, surrounded by unconscious raiders, looking exhausted and sad. Halak studied the scene with professional interest. "I heard the reports, but did not believe them. One human taking down trained Corvan raiders like they were amateurs. You are Silent Corps." "Was," David corrected. "Long time ago. The techniques do not fade. I recognize the patterns. Economy of motion. Minimal force necessary. Targeting nerve clusters instead of killing." Halak gestured at the raiders. "You could have killed them all easily. Why did you not?" "Because killing is easy. Protecting life is hard. I chose hard." Halak nodded slowly. "The raiders are not finished. This was just their advance team. Their main ship is still docked at Bay 12. More are coming." David closed his eyes. "How many?" "Intelligence says at least 30 more. Maybe 50. They are preparing for a full assault on the residential sectors." "And your security forces?" 12 officers. Half of them injured already. We called for coalition backup, but they are 6 hours away." 6 hours. David looked at his hands, saw them shaking again. Not from exertion, from a knowledge of what would be asked of him. What he would have to do. Halak crouched down beside him. "I know what I'm asking. I know what it costs. But if you do not help, people will die. Children will be taken. Families destroyed." David thought about Lily with her stuffed animal, about Sella's terrified face, about Bren's family and the Rasali refugees and everyone else on this station who just wanted to live their lives in peace. "I'm a chef," he said quietly. "Not a soldier. Not anymore. But you remember how to be one. And right now, we need that memory." David stood up slowly, every joint aching. "If I do this, I do it my way. Non-lethal if possible. Minimum necessary force. And when it is over, I go back to my kitchen." "Agreed. And someone needs to protect the civilians who are already safe. The refugees in my storage room. The families in the emergency shelters. I will assign teams to guard them." David looked at the unconscious raiders, at the weapon he had taken from the captain. "I need 20 minutes to prepare. Then tell me where they are." Halak stood and saluted. "Military respect for military skill." "Thank you. Do not thank me yet. You might not like what you see." Because David knew the truth. Knew it in his bones, in his muscle memory, in the dark places he had tried to forget. He was good at violence. Frighteningly good. And part of him, the part he hated most, was relieved to finally stop pretending otherwise. The chef was putting down his apron. The soldier was remembering his dance. And Station Gamma 7 was about to learn why humanity had earned its reputation during the frontier wars. Not because humans were the strongest or the fastest or the best equipped, but because when humans decided to protect something, They became absolutely relentless in their purpose, and nothing short of death would stop them. David returned to his restaurant one more time before the final confrontation. The place was a mess. Broken furniture, scorch marks on the walls, unconscious raiders waiting for security to collect them. But the storage room door remained sealed. The refugees inside were safe. He knocked 3 times, paused, knocked twice more. The signal he had given them. The door opened a crack and Lily's face appeared. "Mr. David, you came back. I promised I would." David knelt down. "Are you all okay in there? We are scared, but we have been brave like you said." David managed a smile. "You're doing great. I need you to stay here a little longer." "Can you do that?" Lily nodded. Her father appeared behind her, placing protective hands on her shoulders. "Thank you for what you did, for protecting us, for keeping your promise. The situation is not over yet. More raiders are coming, but I'm going to stop them. You are just one man." "I know." David stood, but sometimes one person is enough. He sealed the door again and moved through his kitchen, looked at the stoves where he cooked meals, at the counter where he prepared food with the same precision he once used for other purposes. This was his home, his sanctuary, the place where he had rebuilt himself into someone better, and he was about to leave it to become something worse. Halak met him outside with tactical maps and intelligence reports. The raiders are gathering in the main cargo bay. They plan to sweep through the residential sectors, take everyone they can carry, and leave before coalition forces arrive. "How much time do we have?" 30 minutes. Maybe less. David studied the maps. "What about civilians? Have they been evacuated from the area?" "Most of them, but some refuse to leave their homes. Stubborn or scared. Fear makes people do strange things." David pointed to the map. "The cargo bay has 3 entry points. Main door here, maintenance access here, and emergency exit here." "How many raiders total?" 43 confirmed. "All armed, all trained." 43. David felt his stomach tighten. Even for Silent Core, those were impossible odds. But impossible was just another word for difficult when lives were at stake. "I need your security teams at these 2 points." David indicated positions on the map. "They do not engage. They just hold position and make sure no raiders escape. I will enter through the main door." "Alone? Against 43 armed soldiers? I work better alone. Too many allies become complications in close combat." Halak looked like he wanted to argue, but instead just nodded. "We will be in position in 15 minutes. May the stars guide you, human." "If the stars were guiding me, I would not be here." David approached the cargo bay through empty corridors. His mind was quiet now, focused. This was what Silent Core training did. Stripped away fear, doubt, everything except the mission. Turned soldiers into tools, emotions into calculations that he hated how comfortable it felt. The main cargo bay doors were massive, designed for loading large freight containers. Through the small window, David could see raiders organizing equipment, checking weapons, preparing for their assault. They laughed and joked, confident in their numbers and firepower. David entered through the main door without trying to hide. Walked right into the center of the bay like he owned it. 43 raiders turned to stare at a single human in black tactical gear. The silence was absolute. Their leader, a massive Corvin with cybernetic enhancements, stepped forward. "Who are you?" "Someone who is giving you one chance to leave. Right now. Get on your ship and go. No one else has to get hurt." The leader laughed. Then all 43 raiders laughed with him. "One human. Against all of us. You're either very brave or very stupid." "Probably both," David admitted. "But I'm also very trained. And very motivated. These people on this station are under my protection now. You will not take them. We will take whoever we want. Starting with you." The leader raised his weapon. "Kill him." David moved before the first shot fired. Dropped low, rolled behind a cargo container, came up with throwing blades in hand. 2 throws. 2 raiders down, their weapons disabled. 3 more throws before the raiders could properly target him. 5 down already. The bay erupted into chaos. Raiders fired in every direction, trying to track one human moving faster than they could follow. David used their numbers against them, forced them into crossfire situations where they risked hitting each other. He moved through the cargo bay like a dancer who had memorized every step. behind containers, under equipment, through gaps too small for armored bodies. Every movement served a purpose. Every action created multiple effects. The raider rounded a corner and found David waiting. A strike to the weapon, a lock on the arm, pressure on the right points. Down. Next raider. Same pattern, but different execution because no two opponents were identical. Point 10 down. 33 remaining. The leader screamed orders, trying to organize his forces. But organization required communication and coordination. David was disrupting both. Taking out raiders who held command positions. Disabling communication equipment. Creating chaos in their formation. Point 15 down. 28 remaining. David's body was running on pure muscle memory now. His conscious mind had taken a back seat to training, so ingrained it was automatic. Duck, weave, strike, move, disable. Next target. Point 20 down. 23 remaining, but David was tiring. No matter how good his training, he was still human, still needed oxygen and rest. Cuts marked his suit where strikes had landed. His breathing was labored. The raiders realized it, saw him slowing down. The leader rallied his remaining forces. Corner him. Use your numbers. He cannot fight us all at once. They were right. In open space, David could use mobility and terrain. But if they forced him into a corner, pinned him down, numbers would tell. 23 against 1. David let them think they were succeeding. Let them push him toward the back wall of the cargo bay. Let them believe they were cornering dangerous prey. Then he triggered the cargo containers. Silent core training included demolitions, engineering, rapid sabotage. David had spent his walk to the bay, hacking the cargo bay's magnetic container system. One signal from his suit, and every container in the bay released simultaneously. Tons of cargo fell, rolled, shifted. The raiders scattered, tried to avoid being crushed. In the chaos, David moved. Struck like a ghost while they were disoriented. Disabled raiders who were focused on dodging containers instead of defending themselves. 25 down. 18 remaining. The leader was screaming now, rage replacing strategy. He charged at David directly, cybernetic enhancements making him fast and strong. David met the charge, used the leader's momentum against him, redirected force into a container support beam. The impact rang through the bay. The leader crumpled. David stood over him, breathing hard. I told you to leave. You should have listened. The remaining raiders hesitated. Saw their leader down. Saw their numbers cut in half by one human. Saw something in David's eyes that made them remember old stories about Silent Core. About humans who fought in the dark. About soldiers who never quit, never stopped, never showed mercy to those who threatened the innocent. Who want to be next? David asked quietly. They ran. All 17 remaining raiders broke and fled toward their ship. Halak's security teams let them pass. Better to let them escape than risk civilian casualties by fighting in corridors. David collapsed against a cargo container, every muscle screaming. He had won. Protected the station. Saved the civilians. Done what needed doing. And hated himself for how alive he felt. Halak found him there minutes later. They are fleeing. Their ship just undocked. You did it. Saved everyone. I hurt people. Lots of people. Who would have hurt others if you had not stopped them. David looked at his hands. The same hands that prepared meals with love and disabled raiders with precision. There has to be a better way. There has to be something other than violence. Sometimes there is not. Sometimes protection requires force. You used only what was necessary. That matters, does it? David's voice was hollow. Because right now, I cannot tell the difference between necessary and easy. 3 days passed before David returned to work. The station was recovering slowly. Repair crews fixed damaged sections. Medical teams treated the injured. Coalition investigators interviewed witnesses and processed captured raiders. David spent those days in his small apartment above the restaurant, staring at walls, trying to reconcile who he had been with who he wanted to be. Sleep came in fragments between nightmares about both past wars and recent violence. But on the 4th day, Bren came to visit. He brought his family. Sella held flowers from the station's hydroponics garden. His wife carried a basket of fresh bread. We wanted to thank you, Bren said, for saving Sella, for saving all of us. David accepted the gifts but could not meet their eyes. I'm not a hero. I hurt people. You protected people, Celis said. Her voice was small but certain. You promised I would be safe, and you kept your promise. That is what heroes do. Heroes in stories, David replied. Real people are more complicated. Bryn's wife placed a gentle hand on David's shoulder. Complicated is fine. Perfect is impossible. You did what you could with what you had. That is enough. After they left, David sat alone with the flowers and bread. Thought about promises and protection. About the difference between violence for its own sake and violence in service of something greater. The bread was still warm. Bryn's wife had baked it fresh that morning. David ate slowly, tasting every grain, every hint of salt and yeast. Someone had made this with care and skill and love. Had created something nourishing and good that he could do that too. Could create instead of destroy. Could feed instead of fight. That choice was still his to make. David cleaned his apartment and returned to the restaurant. The damage was extensive but reparable. Bryn was already there with a crew of volunteers. Vorlans and Tarankans and Rasalis and others, all working together to restore the Wanderer's rest. You came back, Bryn said. This is my home, my life. I will not let raiders take that from me. They worked side by side for days. Replaced broken tables and chairs. Repaired the shattered window. Repainted scorched walls. The physical labor felt good, clean, purposeful. Words spread quickly about what David had done. Beings he had never met stopped by to help, to bring supplies, to share meals from their own kitchens. The restaurant became a symbol of something larger than itself. Proof that ordinary people could stand against extraordinary threats and survive. 2 weeks after the raid, Halak visited with someone David had never met. A human woman in her 50s, gray hair pulled back, scars visible on her neck and arms. She moved like someone who had spent their life in combat zones. Sergeant Lane, she said, I am Colonel Patricia Wade, former commander of Silent Corps Group 7. I need to talk with you about Echo Company. David's blood went cold. Echo Company was his old unit, the one he had left behind 15 years ago. I'm not active military anymore. Had not been for a long time. I know. None of us are. That is the problem. Wade pulled out a datapad and showed him files. Names. Faces. All former Silent Corps. All dead under suspicious circumstances over the past 2 years. Someone is hunting us, Wade said, killing former operatives. 17 confirmed deaths. Maybe more we have not found yet. Your old team, your specific unit, seems to be a priority target. Why? Because Echo Company was too effective during the Frontier Wars. We embarrassed the Vraxan Dominion, made them look weak. Some people never forgive that kind of humiliation. David looked at the names, recognized most of them. Good soldiers, good people who had tried to build new lives after the war. Now dead. What do you want from me? He asked. Join us. Help us find whoever is doing this and stop them before they kill more of our people. I am a chef, not a soldier. You are both. And pretending otherwise is what got 17 people killed. They hid. They ran. They tried to forget. And they died alone. David thought about the past 2 weeks. About how easily the combat skills had returned. About how much he had hated needing them and how alive they made him feel. I fought to protect this station. To save people. Not to go hunting. And when the hunters find you here, when they come for you and everyone you have been feeding and protecting becomes collateral damage. The question hit hard. David looked around his restaurant. Thought about Bryn and his family. About Lily with her stuffed animal. About all the beings who came here for a good meal and a safe place. I need time to think. Wade nodded. You have 24 hours. Then I am leaving with or without you. But Lane, that footage of you fighting 43 raiders? It has been viewed by billions of beings across 3 sectors. Everyone knows you are here now. Everyone knows what you can do. The hunters are coming whether you join us or not. After Wade left, David sat in his empty restaurant. Evening light filtered through the repaired window, casting long shadows across clean tables and polished floors. Lily arrived with her parents. They had returned to the station after temporary evacuation. She ran to David and hugged his leg. We came for dinner. You promised you would make us your special pasta. David looked down at the little girl who had believed in his promise, who had trusted him to keep her safe. "I did promise that, did not I?" He cooked that night, made pasta from scratch, the sauce simmering for hours, served Lily and her family and Bryn's family and refugees who were still recovering. The restaurant filled with warmth and laughter and the smell of good food. This was why he had left the military. This was what he had built. A place where people came together, where differences did not matter, where everyone was welcome at the table. But Wade was right about one thing. The hunters were coming. The footage had made sure of that. And when they arrived, everyone here would be at risk. David made his decision over dessert. He would not join Wade's team, would not leave his home to hunt distant enemies. But he would prepare, would train, would be ready when they came for him, because he was both chef and soldier now, both parts of himself, integrated and whole. He created meals, and he protected diners. He nourished life, and he defended it against those who would destroy it in the kitchen after closing. David opened the hidden case one more time, looked at the tactical gear, the weapons, the tools of his old life. He did not pack them away or throw them out. Instead, he cleaned them properly and maintained them with care, just in case Bryn found him there. "You are staying. This is my home. I will not run from it. But the danger is always there. Was always there. I just pretended it was not." David closed the case. "I spent 8 years trying to forget who I was, trying to be only one thing. But the truth is, I am many things. Chef, soldier, protector, friend, all of them at once. And if they come for you..." David looked at his restaurant, at the kitchen where he had found peace and purpose. "Then they will find a chef who remembers how to fight. And they will learn what happens when you threaten someone's home." 1 month later, a hooded figure entered the restaurant during lunch service. They sat alone in a corner booth and ordered soup. David noticed them immediately. Old instincts recognized the careful posture, the constant awareness, the professional assessment of exits and angles. The figure ate slowly, left generous credits on the table. Under the payment was a small token. David picked it up after they left. A Vraxan military insignia. The same kind Wade had warned about. A message. A threat. A promise that they were coming. David pocketed the token and returned to his kitchen. He had orders to fill, meals to prepare, people to feed. And when the hunters finally came, they would learn something important about humans. You could take a human out of the war. You could teach them to cook, to create, to nourish instead of destroy. But when you threaten their home, their people, their purpose, you did not face a civilian pretending to be peaceful. You faced someone who had chosen peace deliberately, who understood violence intimately, who knew exactly what they were capable of and had decided to be better, until better was not enough, until protection required force, until promises needed keeping and the blade remembered what it was made for. David Lane chopped vegetables with perfect precision, each cut exactly 3 millimeters thick. His hands worked automatically while his mind prepared for what was coming. The quiet chef had been denied the battlefield for 8 years, but the battlefield had just found him anyway. And this time, he would not run. This time, he would stand. This time, he would show them what happened when a soldier learned to cook and a chef remembered how to fight. The ingredients simmered. The oven warmed. And David Lane, former sergeant of the Silent Corps, current owner of the Wanderer's Rest, prepared for both dinner service and war, because some promises were worth